Here we want to introduce you an Excel file that helps you to manage your costs and revenues. In each month, we all see our pocket is empty and we want to know why we have no money right now, or what we have done during the days, and what expenses are we got and what is our revenue. So this Excel file will help you to submit your costs and how much you pay, and your revenue, how much you receive, and it helps you to have diagrams and a dashboard that helps you to manage your costs and see what happens to your money. So this Excel file will be really helpful for if you want to have some saving, if you want to plan your life and something like that. So in this Excel, we have three main pages. One is the cost and revenue form that enable you to submit the cost in the whatever expenses you had, and your revenue, how much you receive from someone, from your full-time work or something like else. There is another sheet. It's a dashboard. You can check your and control your revenues and costs here, and also there is a database that holds your data. When you submit the data in the form, they will be placed in this table, so all the data will save it here. And there is two other sheets. It's a pivot tables that help me to create the dashboard, and it's a list sheet that's raw data. I will explain it during this introduction. And okay, so when you open this Excel file for the first time, you may see a yellow ribbon that asks you to enable the macros. Since this Excel file is developed based on VBA and macros, please enable that security information, so and then you can use this Excel. If you do not enable that button, you cannot use this Excel. So please enable that. First, when you open this Excel, I want to introduce you the form. This form, in the left side, you can submit your cost, your daily cost. For example, first you have to say what is the day, insert the date. The day is 30 right now, 2 month 2 year 2019. For example, I expense $50 today. I buy something and I have to insert the transaction number. The transaction number should be unique. If you do not enter the unique number, the program will be add the row number of the database into that number. So, or if you make it empty, we automatically enter the transaction number, a unique transaction number. So for example, 123, I don't know if this one is unique or not. I place my name. This Excel can hold multiple users. For example, I can hold my cost and revenue data. Also, I can have the cost and revenue of my wife as well, or my brother, or my whole family. But the preferred way is each one has one Excel file for keeping the data of each person. So after you enter the date data and the transaction number, for example, if you use this Excel file as a dollar, you have to remember that all the data, all the currency, all the payments should be based on the dollar. Or if you use the euro, all the payments or receive should be based on the euro. I do not hold the euro sample here because each one we can have the different currency in each country, so it's meaningless for adding the exact currency. But you have to keep in mind that if you're using dollar, all the data should be based on the dollar, or if you use euro or pound or something like that, you have to keep in mind all the data should be based on that. After you enter this data, you can come here and say what type of this cost is. If it's a liability, it means that you buy a house or a car or something like that. It's something that you can sell in the future. Or if it's an expense, it's some consumable product. For example, I buy an what can I say? And it can be, for example, in the category of clothing, I buy some clothes. And that should be, for example, it's not myself for myself, it's for my family, for my children, for example. So here I say that this is the expense. I had it, I buy a cloth. This is the category, main category of the products. If you want to change these data, these are assumed that most of the people use these categories, but I may need to change them. So you can go to the list sheets and change the cost category or consumer, whoever consumed that product, and revenue category as well. So you can change them, you can add to them or something like, or remove some of them. So it's depend on you. But here I presume that you can use this as a default. So I said this is the clothing category. The consumer is for my children, one of my children. For example, I can say that it's my family. For example, if I go to the restaurant with my family, I expend on the food, and that's it, that the consumer is all of us, so it's for my family. Right now it's the clothes for my children. I pay by cash, or I pay by bank account, or I I give the check to the someone. I can choose here. For example, this one is by cash. The name of the cost is depend on you. For example, I buy the t-shirt for my children. In the note, I can say I bought a t-shirt for Alex. Alex is the name of my children, for example, my child. And after that, I can submit the cost. It's done. Something I didn't say, that is the type of the pay. It's a one-time pay. I go to the shop, I pay that man. If you pay in the multiple levels, it's installment. You have to choose the installment. I will introduce this one as well. So if you submit the cost, the total cost of this month in the month of 2 will be added. This is by formula, so please do not change this one. And also the revenue. So these are saying that I have total cost in this month, for example, $83,000, and the $75,000 is total revenue of this month for me. These are the random numbers, so it's randomly numbers that added to the data, so I can introduce you this exercise. So these are not real. So we say that this $83,000 I pay, and $75,000 I received this month until now, until day 13. And the total cost revenue, or we can say revenue minus cost, is minus 7,000. So it means that I expend $7,000 more than my revenue. So it's red right now. And for example, if my revenue changes to the $100,000, it should be green right now. Okay, it's yellow because it's less than the half of my revenue. The cost is more than half of my revenue. So I Control Z to back the formula. So please do not change these data here. Just use it as the control index for your expenses and revenues. For example, today I go and bought another thing. I want to buy, for example, a car. For example, I borrow a car and I pay it. I do not pay it in one-time payment. I pay it in installment. For example, I pay $1,000 at the first time. It's a liability and it's for my family. It's something I do it for my family. I choose my family as a consumer. Or if I can say it's myself as well, if I sign that the car is mine, so I can say it's for my family, I expend it for my family, but I can sell it by my own in the future, so the payment will be go to my bank account. I can say it's myself, or I can say I bought it for my wife, for example. I can choose spouse. So it's based on the how you expend this, why you buy that car. For example, this one is for myself, and its category should be under, yeah, we can say it's a property. The transaction number is 452. It's an installment, so this is the first payment and it's $1,000. I will pay the future as well. It's by check. For example, I pay the check and it's car, for example. I bought installment 1, or I can say payment 1. It's the first payment. So I can now submit the cost. It asks me, do you want to add the future payments? For example, I give that man 3 checks. And right now, this one is the first check that I paid for today. And I will say, yes, I have to pay that man $10,000 in the future. For example, $5,000. And it's on the 2019. It's the next month I have to pay. Month 3, day 1, and the transaction number, can be the check number, or for example something I put, it's 52, payment 2, and I add this to my data table. So it asks it for the payment number 3, so I can say I will give that man, the shop, $6,000 in the next month, and this the transaction number will be 3, and it's a payment 3. So I will add that to my data table as well, and now it's asking me for the payment number 4. It's the end of my payment, so I will end it. I do not have the 4th payment. And now it's asking me, do you want to set alarm? If I say yes, the next time you open the Excel file, it will alarm you that you have to pay your check. So I will say yes, and it's done right now. So if, for example, I close the Excel file, I go and after the while I open it for next time the Excel file. So for example, after a while I open the Excel file. This time, because I have to pay a check today, it shows me a pop-up. It's an alert that today is the due date for your check, the transaction number for cost of Armin Kishavarzi by amount of $1,000. So it's the first payment. Next time, for example, next month, if you open this Excel file in the first of the next month, it shows you the alarm for the next payment. So you have to pay that in that day. So this is this is how you can submit the cost. And now, for example, for revenue. For example, I do some services for someone and he gave me $200, and this one is, for example, today. I don't care the date, and the transaction number, I can say it's empty, but it's better you fill the transaction number based on the checks or the payment you send it, or based on the bank account payments. So it's not the fixed salary. It's not my full-time job that pays me $200. It's not from the profit or loan or investment, something I invested. It's a selling or a servicing. I serve someone, so he pay me $200, and the revenue category should be I sell a currency, selling the purchase something. No, it's on for projects. I do a project for someone. I serve someone. He pay me a cash. So it's one time received. The installment can be the same. For example, I get some checks from someone. I can say it's installment, and I can set alarm as well for the revenue, and so on. So this particular one is the cash, and it's, for example, I create an Excel file. For example, Excel project. I do some Excel projects. For example, I create an Excel file for this. It's Alex, for example. Okay. So I fill the data. I can now submit revenue. If I submit, the data will be added into the database. If I go to the database, if I Control Shift down, I can go into the last one. If you see, this one is the revenue, selling a service. These all data added here. These are the previous cost data you can see, which I bought a car. So this is how it's worked. It's really simple. These two data help me for remove something. For example, in the database, you can see, for example, this one. I want to remove this transaction. I place it right. It's a wrong number, so I want to remove it. I can come here and add the transaction number. You have to remember that this button and this one just work with the transaction number. So if I say remove, the transaction number 1, 2, 3 will be removed. And if you come to database, you will not see that data. The data is removed. And you can edit something. For example, I want to edit the transaction number. I place it here, but there is no transaction number by this. So if I say edit, it's invalid. It's get me the errors. It say it's invalid ID. Or if I want to remove or edit something that has no any transaction number, it will be give me the error as well. So I have to place the transaction number. For example, the last one here in the database, the number 2063, I want to edit this one, so I have to come here, I place the transaction number. I want to change the amount to 250, and I edit the transaction. So if I go to the database, I can see the amount is changed to 250. So this is the one way you can edit the data. There is another way. You can simply come here to the table and find whatever you want to change it. For example, I want to change this one. I can come here and change the amount, for example, to 300. Okay, so I can change it by my hand manually in the database. It's just Excel. You can do all you want. So this two buttons, this two button works. These two buttons here can help you to get the backup from the database or remove all data from database. For example, if I press the database backup, it pop up me which folder you want to place it. For example, in the desktop, I say okay, and now I have to choose the name for my backup. For example, backup 2019 month 2. You can get a backup in each year. So I said, okay, it's give me an Excel file in the desktop, in my desktop, if you can see. It's the backup from all my data in the database. It's just the database sheet. So you can have all of them here. And you can remove all database. I will remove it in the last minute of the introduction. So right now I do not press this one. And after whenever you want, you can come to the dashboard, and in the dashboard you can see the charts that help you to see what is your money status, how you can manage it in a better way. For example, in 2080, I do not have a lot I do not have a lot of revenue or costs, but in 2090 I have a lot of revenues and lots of costs as well. So if in 2090 I could manage something that I do not buy a lot of products, I can save much more money. And also here, when you get to the dashboard, first thing you want to do is update your data. So the data of these charts will be updated. As you can see, it's updated right now. And do not update when you do not have at least one cost and one revenue data. So when you want to see the charts, be sure that you have at least one data for your cost and one data for your revenue. And here you can select based on the name. For example, here I have the data for two people, Armin Keshavarzi and Arash Keshavarzi. For example, if I want to see just the data of the Arash, I can filter it by using this, and these data are just for Arash. If I want just see the Armin, I can filter it for Armin to see the data of the Armin. And as you can see, the data are changed, and you can see the cost and revenue for Armin. For example, if you want to see for both of them, you can unfilter it, so you can see both of them. And here you can filter based on the year. For example, I just want to see 2019, the cost of 2019. I can filter it, and you can see the data is changed. If you come down, you can see the data is just for 2019, and you can exactly see you had how much cost you have and how much revenue you had. The cost is on the revenue in the green, and the revenue is the blue. So you can see the trend line, the trend of the cost in each month and each day of 2019. You can this one is the summation of the cost for first day of all month. It's a summation for day 2 for the all month, so you have to remember that. And if you go above in this sheet, you can see the type of the cost. Most of the cost is liability, is the expense, is in the orange, and then the yellow one is the liability. So most of my costs are paid for consumer products. And in the revenue, most of revenue is from my fixed salary, and some huge one is from my profit, loan and borrow. For example, from my investment into some, and for example, I bought some share from the Google or other companies, and this is my revenue from that. So here in the next sheet, you can see these are the cost causes. For example, most of the costs are for my family, some of them are for my children, and the list of them for myself. And these are the product names, and These are the installment I had in each period. So this is how it's worked. These are the summation of all revenue and cost in the each period in 2019. If you want to select some, for example, just month, for example, I just want to see month 1, I want to see month 2, I have to hold the control button of my keyboard and then select month 2 for multiple select, and then I have to hold control and select month 3 for multiple select, and now I can see month 1, 2 and 3 in my report. And now I want to have this one as a PDF, or I want to send it to my, for example, wife, and so I can save, you can use this button save as PDF. It asks me which folder you want to save, for example in my desktop, and the name of the report is 2019 month 1, 2 and 3. Okay, and after that it's saved as a PDF in the desktop. So it's done right now. I can go to my desktop and I can see the PDF file is here. If I open it, it's a 3-page report that shows me the cost of month 1, 2 and 3. I can see in month 2 I have lots of cost and revenue as well. In each month I pay more and I receive. So this is not good. This is not good, and I have these are the random number, but as you can see, if this man have to pay more attention into his cost, so it must be less than its revenue for more saving. So that's how it's work. For example, you open this Excel file for the first time. I will hide this page because it's real confusing. If you want to edit something in this page, for example in the page list, you can unhide that. For example, you first open this Excel file, you have to remove the database at first. Let's say okay, it's done. If you go to the database, there is no data. You have to enter some data, and for example for your cost and for revenue. First thing you need to do is see how much cash right now you have. For example, right now in day 13/2/2019, I have 20,000 cash right now, and this is for example first. Okay, and I want to say it's my own, and this Excel file will manage my cost and revenue. For example, I have it in the cash, it's revenue right now. For example, it's based on my fixed salary. I work somewhere. Right now I have 2,000 cash. It's you can use each of them for the first time, but the fixed salary is more reasonable. So type of the receipt, it's a one-time receipt because right now I have that, it's a cash, and so it's cash. So I can say it's my initial cash. It's my initial cash, and the initial cash for the first time using this software, for example. So I can submit that right now, and this is my initial cash. And the thing that it's good to do is if you have the house or car, you can say how much those costs are. For example, I bought a car in the something last month or last year, for example 2018, for $4,000. I don't know how much the car is right now. It's a liability, it's my car. For example, property and duality, myself, and it's one-time payment because it's all done. I paid my car and it's a cash, for example. I can add that cost as well. Or if you have because it's 2080, it's a red. For example, you bought some house in 2000, in year 2000, you can say, for example, one, I don't remember the exact date, but I do remember it's a 2000, and it was for example, $400,000, and let's change it to the custom. For example, the transaction number is 3, and it's my house, it's property dwelling, myself, it's house, it's my own house, for example. If I pay the cash, I can say it's a cash, and I submit the data. So it's $400,000. So the first thing you do, it's good to add your initial cash and add your you add the liability that you know right now, or add your, for example, the amount you share you bought, and something you know. It's good to have them right now, but you do not need to concern about the expenses or something like that. And after you adding those main data, you can start it to say, okay, it's now day 13, month 2, 2019, and add the expenses, for example, $10, for example, $50 for buying the t-shirt for my son or something like that. So this is how it's worked for a tax. For example, if you pay taxes, all these should be in the cost category. I do not remember if we have, for example, you can use others for tax. I do not add the taxes. If you want, you can go to the hide the list. You add a category for tax, for example, tax and others. So you add tax category as well, and if you pay the tax, you can choose the tax right now. So I wish this Excel file helped you a lot for managing your revenue and cost. Thanks for and goodbye.